My name is Paddy Brown, and I'll be 84 if I live until Christmas. I was born during a snowstorm, and there was no midwife as much at the time. There was a wise woman, Sarah Fair, over at Cornanool, and a man named Kearney helped her then through the snowdrifts, and she arrived at the house. And
so there was no nurse?
She was a wise woman.
A wise woman. And no hospital?
And there wasn't talk of hospitals. You were dead if you went to the hospitals them times.
What part of Ireland did you come from?
Derek Huron.
And you're still there?
I'm still there, and I have the original, the land, the fences and everything is Stoneleigh Place, that are the same as they were when the land was striped in 1839, the year of the big wind.
Right.
So Roger Palmer was the landlord, and we originally came from Ballintubber, a place named Creever. The landlord there, I think there were Knoxes at the time. They decided bullocks at the time when there'd be a war on, beef it'd be in demand, and bullocks were more profitable than tenants, so all were evicted, and we landed then at Huron. There was just clochans, one stage into the village, and no road. Well, a road went through that boring, it led to Dublin at the end, but it was it wound to take in every settlement, and there was forges along it.
And what was a clochan?
Clochan is one fella built a house, and the other fella then built onto his gable, and he had one wall up and so on. But
so
then
it was kind of a terrace then? An old-fashioned terrace, is it?
There'd be no terrace,
no terrace.
And there was no right chimney, the smoke coming out the door, I suppose.
Okay. And where did you go to school then?
I went to school to lecture across the Lecture Mountain. There was another lad there, Johnny Stevens, he's long since dead. We were pals, and I'd go out and we used to cross the mountain, and he was an authority on wildlife, and at that time there was partridges and there was grouse and there was hare and sometimes foxes.
And you'd see them all on the way going to school?
Yes, I got a good grounding on wildlife.
And had you got good footwear to go across the mountain?
Bare feet.
Bare feet, but not in winter time, no?
Well, it should be about this time of year that you'd put on shoes or clogs.
And were there many children in school that time?
Around nearly 60.
60.
It had been one time 100 going, but they didn't, I think, keep much records until around 1900. The school was built in 1889, and they couldn't get a teacher, but the head schoolmaster, Mr. Conway, he filled in for the time being. He was getting old.
So he was the head?
He was a hedge school.
A hedge school. That means he taught under the hedges. There was no school at the time. Because the education was suppressed that time, was it?
Well, I have some of the books they used in the hedge school that they passed from one to the other and on to the next family. The Universal Spelling Book was one. They used to call it the double spelling book.
And do you have that? Yeah?
Yes, I believe it's very.
You have a copy of that, yeah?
Very dilapidated.
Okay. And was the school strict that time?
No, it was in the morning. You land. You could trace the day's disasters in his morning face.
You knew what he was like coming in.
Things were going wrong, and there was an old woman. She was the saddest I ever seen. She was Mrs. Welch. She used to come on a pony and trap, and they'd collect her again in the evening. And the two of them weren't on good terms.
So there was a little bit of strife in the school, there was.
But she had a headache all the time and a bun, grey hair and a bun, and she dressed in black, mourn, and then sometimes she'd nod off asleep, and when she'd waken up, if there was a bit of noise, the first one, she'd put an eye on, she'd come down with the cane.
Okay. Did you have an exam to do after? Did you do your primary cert that time?
There was no, that wasn't in at the time.
At the end of, so you had no exam at the end of the school. And what age did you leave school at?
Around 13.
13.
A bit over, between 13 and 14.
And what did you do then?
Yes, I went working on the land. And later on, then I worked with spread turf for people. You'd get 2 shillings a day, some of them, and bad grub. The war years came then, and there was coffee without sugar, and there was the flour was rationed, and a half ounce of tea, and tobacco and cigarettes. Then you had to be careful if you were a small boy on the road. You'd meet a man with a murderous gleam in his eye. He'd have no cigarettes for a few days, and going up to 2 is to see did they come in.
You'd be in bad form, would you?
Yes. Oh, you'd get, and dogs too had to keep out of the way. It was no.
You were into the fisheries?
Later on, when I was fishing, when I was before I was 6 years, there was a river near us, and there was a little brook trout. And when there'd be a flood, sometimes you'd catch a few, but then I used to go, and they used to tell me then about things that had ate you along the river, and I used to be afraid.
Bit nervous.
There was a girl then, well, she was my godparent, and her health broke down. They told her that she'd have to eat fish. Well, anything I'd catch then, I used to bring it to her.
How did you entertain yourself when you were young? Did you do anything? Did you play, or did you?
I started reading for at an early stage, and we had a lot of books. I had a lot of Shakespeare's books. My father brought some from England, and all them Hamlet and The Merchant of Venice, and I had read all them then, and the histories of Rome, and it was when there'd be light you'd read, but there was no paraffin oil.
So how did you manage to read that?
You'd read sometimes in the wet day. With the Bogdale candle, you used to be put in the fire, and the light of that thing.
You just brighten it up a bit, yeah?
A little.
Did you go to the cinema or go to dances or anything like that?
Yes, we used to have house dances and half sets, and
mostly in the houses?
And so different houses.
Band come in?
They'd have a melodeon. Some places the lads would join, they were made in Germany. I think they weren't too expensive. When 10 or 12 would put in a bit, and they'd dance and waltz there. It was harmless at the time, the entertainment.
Can you remember any of the musicians' names at the time? The good ones?
There was James Miles. He was pretty good. There was Mike Miles. And then before that, then in my mother's time, there was a house, Patsy Welsh. And they'd have 2 or 3 nights a week, but they'd have to, then the last night of the week, a threepenny and that
little payment.
Fiddle he had. He'd bag the fiddle, and he was very strict in their behaviour. He was a remarkable man. He built a boat then, and he knew the depths of all the lakes round about.
You went fishing. You went with the fisheries board, then, did you?
Later on, I worked in
worked with
various places before that, and then I joined the fishery staff, and I seen a lot of connaughts through them. I used to go as far south, the river going through Tuam.
The Clare.
Yes, and then in North Mayo, then as far as Ballycastle, and as far then east into Ballinlough and Roscommon and then into Sligo.
Yeah. You cleared out. You were on a pike clearance thing. We getting rid of pike out of the lakes.
Pike clearance, and well, I was on protection then at times back at the Area Fishery, the government bosses. And that was the middle and tough. The Connemara men used to come down, and they used to be happy when we used to take their nets.
Did you have any trouble with them?
Yeah, we had plenty.
Any rows?
Oh, there's a place out there, Peacocks. I was in it, but it was years later that I wouldn't go in early on. So there was some humorous that music, and he proposed that we have a whip round for the lads that lashed their nets down on the Arrow. So 3 van loads of them came down to kill us. There was only 2 was on a night. We knew when with the shouting that they were coming. And so they searched the first beach for us. And we were hid in bushes. And they were coming closer, but we went back then into the one they had searched. It was the safest bait then on there.
A good strategic move.
Yes.
So they didn't get you?
Yes, we were lying in the rushes, but they gave up the search. We thought they might burden it with a bad van where it was supplied, but they didn't, and they went down then around the roof, and they did a fair amount of damage.
You have an interest in archaeology, I believe, eh?
Yes, I have more knowledge, I suppose, than a man named Cannon there at first that got me onto it. He was showing me Cronaughts where we were down at the lakes, and then we used to have many a chat. He was very learned. His brother was Paddy Cannon. He was on the flying column. His picture with the long moors are on the picture, that famous picture of the
West Mayo, is it?
West Mayo flying column. And then we found a few things, and I remember then I had travelling, I had a great chance then on lakes that no one left a foot on some of the islands for hundreds of years, and the plants, and you see, I had an interest in them. There were some of them dead out on the mainland, livestock, but on the islands they survived.
Okay, right, yeah. So you have a little collection of stuff down in the house?
A fairly big collection.
What have you got in it?
I have I have a stone implements for a start. Then I have the slack from the early smelting pits. I have my grandfather barrel, my grandfather's Fenian gun. And I have a sword that was supposed to fight against Cromwell, a horseman's sabre. Something around Clonmel it came from, but there's no proof that it did. And I have a bayonet in the Humbert, one of Humbert's that he brought in. Then I have a musket ball.
So you got a lot of stuff?
Oh yes, it's worth seeing before it all goes. And I have the files, then I wrote up the people in each village round about and what they did and how they survived, and They'd have some of them stories about when there were migratory labourers and there was hauntings. Sometimes there was ghosts. A lot of talk about them. But
did you ever see one?
I think I seen something unusual. All right, but 95% of the stories about ghosts are someone was excited.
Good story.
Yes. But then it's like the woman, the Irish woman, when she was asked did she believe in fairies, she says no, but they're in it.